Use your hands. Ah! Oh my God, it's all gonna come together right now. But I also love my booty, yeah? Here we go, check it out. Hey yo, MC Gala here from Gala's Organic Kitchen. I am here today to serve you and your healthy cake cravings. Don't be scared, you do not have to put it into one of these cake tins. You can put it into any other cake tin. So first things first, oil your baking dish. Use your hands. Ah! Spread the rest of the oil on your arms and or legs or other people. Get a little bit of flour. I'm using the maize flour that's also in the recipe. Sprinkle it in there and do that. What you saw your grandmother do if you were lucky enough to have a grandmother and lucky enough to have a grandmother that baked. Make sure the flour is everywhere and stuck to all parts of the oily sides. Now you're probably intelligent enough for this, but how do you get the flour on the kind of circular bit in the middle? You do that. Voila! It's much easier if you do it like this, facing you. Ta-da! I like to use a sieve just to get some extra air in there and to make sure that all my flour doesn't have any lumps. 1.5 cups of almond meal. Whatever doesn't sieve, just put it in anyway. I mean, it's not like we're trying to get rid of those pieces. We're just trying to get some air in there and make sure there's no lumps. 1 cup of rice flour. I love to bake gluten-free because it makes me feel good and lots of people benefit from it as well. It's good for the gut, for some people. 1 cup of maize flour. Now you might be wondering why I'm using maize flour. Usually I use buckwheat flour. That's because buckwheat flour is kind of dark and brown and quite earthy, and I want this to be yellow, and it's yellow. So this is one of my earlier recipes before I started using flax egg for pretty much every cake. And what I use to bind this one is arrowroot or corn flour. I like to kind of mix it up. I have a mixture here as well. Now I use 1 teaspoon of bicarb and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. But I don't have any baking powder, so I'm gonna do 2 teaspoons of bicarb. Now I put both of them because they both have a different kind of fluff reaction. One is activated by heat, one by acid, and I thought if I put both in it, it's gonna be better. Yeah. So I love to use my mom's super ugly, I really think it's a very ugly spatula, but I love to use it because it's my mom's. And so is the sieve, and it's just lovely when things get used in life, isn't it? Mix that all nicely, a little tiny bit of salt, and that's your dry ingredients for ya. Now hopefully you cleaned the bench before you got started, so your bench is clean, so any flour that is flying around everywhere, you can just gather it and put it in your bowl. You all know that feeling sometimes? Now we got all the fruit here and we have the soaked currants in water. However, we gotta do some wet ingredients first. Get another bowl. 1 cup of soy or rice or oat milk or hazelnut milk or any milk. Except for cow's milk. That's for the cows. 1/2 cup of maple syrup. So what I love about this cake is that it doesn't have white sugar in it. And yes, it has a lot of maple syrup in it, but it's so good. And it's a treat. It's a decadent little wonderful treat that I'm very happy to make, despite all the maple syrup. 1/2 cup of coconut oil. Melted, of course. I put mine in the oven. You probably can use any other oil, but I don't remember having tried it with olive oil, but I do love baking my cakes instead of coconut oil with olive oil, so I think that should work as well. The rind of 2 lemons and 1 orange because it's gotta have some flavor. I mean, hello. Make sure that your oven is preheated, yeah, so that it's on 180 already now. It's been on 180 for quite a few minutes before you put the cake in the oven. Otherwise, you ain't gonna have the fluff. Huh? You've been warned. If you have any leftover lemons like I do, I even have a shriveled up lime. It ain't rotten, it's just a little dry. I used it the other day for a curry, so you might as well chuck those in there now as well. Besides, my half cup isn't quite full with the juice of my 2 lemons. But that's okay. We can use some of the orange. I feel like an English school teacher. We can use some of the orange instead of the lemon. Who would have thought of that? Isn't that genius? Oh, sorry, I forgot the pips. Here, take it through a sieve. Great, 1 medium apple. I have 2 little ones, which I figured would make roughly 1 medium apple, so there. I'm really sorry, but they're like incomparable to the apples you get in Australia. True. Oh my God, it's all gonna come together right now. Now get your dry ingredients. Give the wet ones a little swirl. Read the recipe to make sure you haven't missed anything. Okay, get your cake tin ready. It's all gonna have to happen fast. The faster you work without stress and breathing deeply and put it in the oven quickly into a hot oven, it has the most potential to be fluffy. Currants without the soaking water. Use the soaking water in a smoothie or chuck it in your porridge tomorrow when you cook it. I'm so excited to be showing you this cake because I love cake. You know, like grandma-ish fluffy cake, but I also love my booty, yeah? And so I invented this recipe. I'm very proud of myself because I wanted it to be like a fluffy, normal-ish cake, but reasonably healthy. May I give you a little trick on how to pour this in there? And voila, in the oven it goes for about 45 minutes at 180, but you have to test it with a knife. We're gonna do that later. All right, so here we go, 45 minutes, and actually I left it in a little bit longer because my currants were quite wet. So I think I baked it for about an hour, and I waited for 30 minutes after it came out of the oven, otherwise it's gonna just fall apart. And then I plonked it on the chopping board. Here we go, check it out. Now I'm just gonna cut it here and you can have a look in there what it looks like. Oh, look at that fluffiness, and it's holding already. That, my friends, is a really good vegan and gluten-free tea cake. Oh yeah, look at that. It's not crumbling, I can move it all around, and it's a solid cake. I'm gonna try that for you, just to make sure that it really is delicious. Smell it first. Mm. It's still steaming. That's really, 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 really nice. I'm not just saying that because it's a recipe from my book, but it is a recipe from my book. Lick your plate. You can get it on my website, galasorganickitchen.com. Enjoy!